Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you may be in the world. We welcome you. Today, we're going to be talking about rediscovering our destiny with our amazing panel. So, without further ado, let's get at it and let's talk. Today, we are joined by a few of our panelists, and some are still coming on. This is live TV, and so we're going to have some fun today. And I want to welcome those that are here right now with us. Lizzie Inns, is that how I say it? Inns or
Yes.
Ines?
Ends.
Okay, we're going to wait until we have Jody on with camera. She's almost on, and we've got Dr. Marlena and Brian Bogert. And Dr. Marlena, as I had said in the verbiage of the, letting you guys know what today's show is all about, was the inspiration of this show. She has a book that we were talking about. It's Rediscovering Your Destiny. And we're going to dive deep in with all of our panelists because they know what this subject matter is all about. And you're going to see exactly how much they know here soon. However, I'm going to start with Dr. Marlena. And so you guys get to know her a little bit more and her story. And then we're going to find out where each one of them are in the world today.
Coaching is the most rewarding profession in the world. Everyone needs a coach. The greatest athletes on the planet have coaches. The most successful entrepreneurs in the world have coaches. In fact, billionaire Oprah Winfrey has multiple coaches. How many do you have? I'm Dr. Marlena. I'm a certified mindset development expert who focuses on helping my clients discover their purpose and live in their passion. After coding twice on the operating table, I realized I had not lived my life with as much passion up to that point. I had not done all I could to be truly happy. I wasn't ready to go. Through a tremendous blessing, I got another chance. I was allowed to bring more purpose to the lives of the believers in the world. I specialize in mental stability, spiritual enhancement, and emotional healthiness to have a more quality-driven lifestyle, the best of your life, the rest of your life.
Fabulous. So let's go around with who's here right now and find out where you're at. And then we're going to dive a little bit more into your particular stories, and then we're going to get at it. So, Dr. Marlena, let's start with you. Where are you?
I'm in Northridge, California, about 20 minutes north of Los Angeles.
Okay. And Lizzie?
I'm in Phoenix, Arizona.
And Brian?
I'm going to change it up and just say I'm in Glendale, Arizona, even though I'm technically in a province of Phoenix.
I love it. And that was, guys, it's a small world. What can I say? Okay, we're going to learn a little bit more about Brian, and we're going to learn a little bit more about Lizzie, and then we're going to go on.
Runs over me diagonally, tears my spleen, leaves a literal tire track scar on my stomach, and continues on to sever my left arm from my body. Completely off. We need a tribe of people around us because what we're all wired for is human connection. So when we start there and we focus on people, we focus on who we are, I guess I just have a vision of the fact that we can have a lot better world because we don't need all this tension. We don't need all this anxiety.
I learned very, very early to not get stuck by what has happened to me, but instead get moved by what I can do with it.
You see, the unavoidable precursor to change is acceptance. Until we accept the current state of things, we cannot change them. We cannot alter them. We cannot move and grow. But that's what we all want to do. So if we can create a higher level of awareness in the way that we interact with people, the systems that we create, the way that we're creating relationships, the patterns that are developed in our lives, and then we can be intentional with how do we apply those moving forward, we can actually allow ourselves to not repeat the same patterns in our lives. What we need is each other. What we need is ourselves. What we need is to remember who we are before the world told us who to be.
Fabulous. Okay, we're going to learn about one more of right now who we have right here, Lizzie. And then we're going to go to the comments and see what people are saying. And then we're going to get at it.
My story started from birth. I was born into an Amish family, and I grew up there until the age of 19. There's nothing modern about it. It's very, very strict where I grew up. It's the strictest of the Amish orders. There's no electricity, no running water. We ride in horse and buggies, and we work really, really hard. I grew up on a farm. I have 18 siblings. We cooked all our own food. We garden all our own, fruits and vegetables. And there's nothing modern about it. Everything is hard work. In fact, it's almost as if the harder they can make it for you with the more rules that they bring in their eyes, the better. At a very young age, I started to feel really unsettled there. And I started to feel like there is more to life than living here in this community. What are my neighbors doing? And I would watch them, and we didn't have any kind of affection growing up. There was no hugging, there was no kissing, there was no I love you, nothing like that. So I would watch the neighbors, and I would see them come home at the end of the day, and the first thing they would do is give each other a hug and a kiss and show each other that they love each other. And I thought, man, if I cannot do that to my husband one day and love on my husband the way that I want to, then I don't want to be here. How I'm going to jump. But I also know if I want a better life and a better future, that's the only way out. So I finally take a deep breath and I jump right into freedom.
So now you all know a little bit about each other, and we want to welcome everybody that's here with us right now. Coach, thank you. Aloha to you. And Helene, thank you for being with us. And yes, please remember, #live, #replay. Andrea, always wonderful to see you. And everyone else, we love you. Lizzie, yes, we do. And so who would like to start now that we're talking about? Oh, and we want to welcome Pat also. We are going to be talking about right now the rediscovering our destiny. Why don't we, I'm going to pick you to start off with, since you inspired the comments or the subject matter today. Brooke, hello. Dr. Marlena, what is it that inspired you to write this book?
Well, being strapped to a hospital bed, waking up from an 80-day coma and wondering, finding myself in that space of being surprised that my life wasn't where I thought it would be, or how, not even recognizing how I got there, but knowing that now that I was there, sort of like conversation with God's like, do I have your attention now? And so, always living a great life, but wasn't focused on the right things as I was living that life. And what I mean by the right things is I wasn't walking in my purpose. I was doing, all the things, go to school, get a good education, Dr. Marlena, get a good job, had a great job, HR director, spent 30 years, here in HR on this career. So I was doing all the right things, but they were someone else had dictated those for me. And so discovering that as I went on the journey, that I had everything, born with everything, and let life's distractions take me away from what was uniquely designed for me.
Awesome. Thank you. And we want to welcome Jody. And yes, we hear you. I'm so excited.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Okay. This is
Okay,
live,
good.
guys. Remember that. And we want to tell your story first before we continue. Okay. So here is Jody's story.
Have you ever had things from your past that you wanted to block and bury, but eventually the truth comes out? When the truth eventually is released is the first step to truly owning what has happened to you. I was 18 years old, lacking self-confidence. I didn't feel pretty enough, smart enough, or loved enough until I met Trek. He was very handsome, very confident, and we had instant chemistry. I gave him my phone number, and for the next 3 months of my life, I was on cloud 9. For the very first time, I felt alive, heard, seen, and made to feel beautiful. We were going to get married. Our first date was finally happening after months of talking on the phone. To make it special, he even sent his bodyguard to meet me. That's when the nightmare started. The bodyguard took me to a motel and held a gun to my back. I was left with 2 choices, either get killed or be forced into that motel room. The bodyguard turned out to be the person that Trek sold me to. Trek was a human trafficker. It was the night I violently lost all my innocence, and it was just the beginning. Eventually, I escaped by the grace of God. Because it didn't matter if you're trafficked for 1 day, 1 week, 1 year, or 20 years, the result is still the same. Except others are not as fortunate as me. Only 5% of those who escape or have been rescued go on to live a healed and normal life. Currently, human trafficking has 40 million victims worldwide between sex trafficking and forced human labor. We together can end it.
Thank you for being with us, Jody. And thank you for all that you do to bring awareness to this. And so we can, and I love the way that you put it in there, that 5%, only 5% are healing, but we can change that and we can do so much more. And so today's show, again, we're talking real, and we're going to look at it. How can we turn all of this around to be fabulous? So we started with you, Dr. Marlena. Who would like to speak next about rediscovering our destiny?
I'll go ahead since
Okay.
my video just played. One thing that I learned is in life, you go through things. You don't want to stay stuck in things, because when we stay stuck, we become a victim. And we stay in that place. Like what happened to me happened when I was a teenager. So I stayed in the mindset of a teenager. I stayed in that space until I realized, with the help of, I always say this, I would not be here today if it wasn't by the grace of God. I have got to say that first and foremost. I would not be here, period. So we have to know that we are not meant to carry all that. And so we're meant to go through things. And whenever you think about going through a tunnel, if you stayed stuck in the middle of the tunnel, you're going to stay in a dark place, but you're looking for that light that's on the other end of that tunnel. And so that would be my thing is everybody has something that they walk through, and that makes you an expert in that area. So don't stay stuck in what happened to you. Like, don't stay stuck in that trauma. Don't stay stuck in that sickness. Don't stay stuck in that place. Know that you're made for more, and start really looking into what is your passion. Like, my passion is helping people. So I realized I went through what I went through because I was meant to help people. And so that was what I would say. Your destiny is what you're meant to be and who you're meant to be, and not to be stuck in what has happened to you.
Beautifully said.
Amen.
Who would like to piggyback off of that? Lizzie or Brian?
I'll piggyback off of that.
Okay.
Very much so. So I used to think that we had only 2 choices in life when it comes to making decisions, but we actually have 3 choices. The first choice is wherever we're at, we have a choice whether or not we're going to go back to what's comfortable and what we know. because that's comfortable. Whether we want to be there or not, we can choose to go back there. That's first choice. The second choice is we can choose to stay exactly where we're at, not going backwards or forward, but we stay there because it's what we know, it's what's expected of us, and what other people think that we should do, and where we feel comfortable, but we're not growing. That's the second choice. The third choice is we get to make a decision whether or not we're going to move forward and make some very, very hard choices where we know that our heart and our soul is leading us and where God wants us to go. We get to make a decision on that, but that may be the hardest door that you'll ever walk through, but you need to make a decision, and with that decision you have to follow through, and that execution and follow through is where the magic is going to happen.
Excellent. Brian, would you like to?
Absolutely. Well, it was definitely ladies first. And whenever I can be surrounded with so many intelligent, strong, capable, just beautiful women, it's amazing. So it is my honor to go last. Listening to all of you, we are clearly on the same vibration and frequency, and there's a lot that binds all of us. But what I would say definitively, at least in some of the ways that I can state the same things you all have already stated, but in my language, because it's all universal truth, it's simply this. I learned very early not to get stuck by the things that had happened to me, but instead get moved by what I can do with them. And the more I've done that, the more I realize that moved people move people, just like hurt people hurt people. And when I realized that when I went into survival mode and I shut off physical pain because it exceeded my ability to cope when my arm was torn from my body, I also shut off mental pain, spiritual pain, and emotional pain for 25 years and didn't know it. Right? I was constantly in this position where I was feeling disconnected, isolated, alone. Things were just heavy all the time, and I felt like I could never catch a breath. And all I had to chase in terms of the model was all of what the world told me I should want. What house, what car, what amount of money. I chased all the what's of the world when I was really in search of who. And when I got all the what's I ever desired, I realized that it actually cost me the ultimate price, which was who I was. And so then I started going inward, and I jumped in at an even deeper level, because though human connection was a big part of the forefront for that prior period of my life, human connection without emotion isn't really human connection. And I never really had allowed myself to feel. And I genuinely believe that if we don't feel, we do not heal, period. And so now I'm in a position where I'm very clear and understand that each and every only thing, the singular thing that continues to keep you stuck, is the trash from your past. Here's the beautiful part about this. 99% of the trash from your past isn't even your fault. It just becomes your responsibility once you become aware of it.
Yes.
But these are the things that you've continued to convince yourself you no longer need to pay attention to. You can put it in this little tiny box and put it up on a shelf and ignore it, but yet it continues to be the fatal flaw that continues to come back and repeat the same patterns in your life. Again, it's not your fault, but it becomes your responsibility, because if you no longer want to feel like garbage, you have to be able to get yourself to move instead of be stuck by the muck and yuck from the inside of your can. And the only way to do that is to flip open your lid and take a look inside objectively and non-judgmentally. And when you can do that, and you can clear the interference, and you can identify and take out the trash from your past that no longer serves you, that's when you really get to step into who you are. That's when you get to chase your destiny. That's when you get to be in alignment with who you are. And that's when the universe actually starts to fill your sails, because you're actually in alignment and have cleared out the interference and garbage that you don't need to be carrying anymore. So that's how I've applied it in my life, through many levels of shame, through areas of anger, through creating so much damage in my household that I almost lost the 3 people I care most about because I was burying them in my trash. And so I've redeveloped and reinvented our entire life, and now we're just helping others learn how to do the same.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I'm going to ask a question right here through a graphic, and then we're going to discover it. You all kind of touched on it, but something that Dr. Marlena, I'm going to let you start again. You say that discovering your why, or rediscovering, whatever it may be, right? Discovering or rediscovering your why will help you to create that. It can be that game changer. Why don't you explain that a little bit more?
Sure. And again, piggybacking on we are so divinely aligned, and it's amazing. We're in all different parts of the world, right? And so, or I guess the states, we're divinely aligned. I get on that. But one of the common things is how, I'll put it this way. If we had a superpower, it would be moving everyone beyond the hurt, the shame, the challenge, the whatever it is, to where now you can rise, you can see, you can look back over and say, wow, I'm a survivor. I survived all of that. And now what do I do with that? And what I do with that is to walk in my purpose that I was uniquely chosen for. How did I discover that? Is I went on a journey. I learned hypnosis. You know, I learned a timeline. I learned those. I studied those things that would broaden my mindset, because what was keeping me stuck, and it was looking at everyone else's to-do list and not being focused on mine, was what gosh, I'm so over, I'm like, I want to start saying hallelujah amen over here. I'm gonna sit on it. But what kept me,
Do it, girl. Come on. Hallelujah. Amen. Let's go.
Well, she is a minister, guys, you know.
well, yeah,
Own it. Let's do it.
that energy that's flowing right now has me tongue tied, and I really just want to say to those, someone stuck right now going, but how, surrender. You got to surrender. You got to know that, you know, where you are, there's more to it. Before olden days, and I'm dating myself, but before, you know, the internet, we couldn't say we had a place to go and hear or find or seek. We had to do it in books in the library. Now we have a place to go to. If we can figure out how to, you know, twerk and do all these other things, we can Google, you know, we can kind of Google purpose. You know, what is purpose and why? You know, my thing is the sweet spot, purpose and passion, where it lines up. Because we want the purpose, but we don't want the passion, because the passion is the sorrow, it's the abandonment, it's the ache, it's the pain, it's the growth that you have to go through. But when it aligns, and I'm looking at everyone here, we can all say the sweet spot of it is that we went through it. We didn't know we were not going through it alone, because for me, my Savior was there through it. Now that I'm on the other side, I can look back and say, hey, as a coach, this is how you get over. This is how you go through. This is how you go around. This is how you get lifted. And start with the immediate physical need or the mental need that the person has, and all the other stuff would build on it. I don't know if I answered the question, but I know I found my mission and my ministry through my pain. And that was the game changer for me. And once I did that, I rediscovered what I was uniquely born to do. And that was to lift, and I don't even use the word help, empower others to reinvent, redesign their lives, to work on purpose in life.
And beautiful. And I want it to be said, and I want you all to discuss about it, because you've all become coaches one way or another in what you're doing. You're coaching or you're mentoring business, or one way or another. And you know, let's because I think that's when you're talking about empowerment, Dr. Marlena, that right there is empowerment. You're taking that pain and purpose and now going out there and helping others that are experiencing something similar, and that, you know, to go forward, or even somewhat different, yet using your background to make life better. And so we did not ask Jody where she is in the United States. So go ahead and let us know.
I'm in Nashville, Tennessee.
You're in Nashville, Tennessee. You can hear it. You can hear it in your voice. I love it. I love it. Who would like to go next after Dr. Marlena?
I will, because I'm right there with you with the Savior, and absolutely 100%. When I think of the why, I think of myself for decades in a dark room, feeling isolated and alone, and like no one had any idea how I felt. And that was just lies of the enemy, because one of his biggest tools that he's going to use is isolation. Nobody's going to listen to you. People are going to be embarrassed by you. You should be ashamed. You should feel guilt. And you're the only one that's walked through that. You're the only person that's ever been through that. So the enemy uses these lies that makes us wonder, why? Why did it happen to me? Like, I know a lot of people say, why did God let that happen to you? Well, we live in an evil world. And so what we have to realize is evil will happen, right? But God is bigger than all of that. So my misery turned into my ministry.
Yeah.
So what we got to understand is that when you're sitting there and you're allowing all these thoughts of negativity and heaviness and anger and hate, and the enemy loves that. But when you turn that around and you're like, no, I'm going to love on people. I'm going to let people know, one big thing I have to say is, when people see prostitutes, the first thing they think is, oh, that girl is nasty. What is she doing on the side of the street? That's disgusting. She's a crackhead. You don't know what she's walked through. You don't know what she's walked through. And all that she probably needs is someone to say to her, you are loved and you are seen and you are not alone. Because so many of us sit in isolation, feeling all these haunting things that happened to us in the past. And we're like, why? When God is like, I'll show you. But it's just, I think it was Dr. Marlena said, I'm not sure who, you got to surrender it to me. Because when we try to carry all that on our own, it's going to weigh us down. And it's just like wearing a mask on your face. You're covering up and you're blocking the beauty of what you've walked through. And God is saying to you, you walk through this for a reason, and you're going to come out on the other side of it. And it's going to bless you beyond what you could ever imagine. So when people look at me, they're like, oh, I'm so sorry you went through that. I'm like, girl, no, because now I stand as a survivor and I can help others. And that's a blessing to me, because if I stayed in a place of just victimhood, like I did for 20 plus years, self-medicating myself. How can I make this pain go away? How can I stop this? How can I, it'll mask it. It will cover it up, but it will not fix it. It will not fill the void. It will not take the place of it. It will not do that. And in my case, it was only by the blood of Jesus that it happened to me. Otherwise, I feel like I would be that prostitute on the side of the road. And that's just real, because so many of us walk through hard things, but we think we're meant to carry that the rest of our lives into our relationships. We attract the same type of people, but they have different faces, because we are like, just like I think Brandon said, is that am I right? I don't have my glasses on.
Brian.
But he said, hurt people hurt people. So this person hurt me, so I'm gonna hurt that person. But then people who love will continue to show love. So it's that domino effect of why am I here? You're here for purpose. You're absolutely here for purpose. And what you walked through is your purpose. And I used to be so afraid of the dark until God showed me I was the light. And so I want you to if you're in a dark room and you're depressed and defeated and down, all the words of the devil, then get up and realize I have a purpose in my life. And that may be me on a panel talking to all these wonderful, amazing survivors beside me.
Well, thank you for sharing. And I'm going to say that we've got different types of things that have changed lives. And some, that the one thing here that I believe everybody has, and yes, you're all from the same frequency, is that we are rediscovering that destiny that we were born with, right? And so it could be because of a situation that was a dark situation, or it may be that it was an accident, or it may be that you were literally born into something that maybe wasn't feeling in alignment with what you felt your destiny was all about. And so I'd love to go to Brian or Lizzie. Lizzie, do you have something?
Before that, can I just add, I just want to piggyback a little bit on Jody here. Jody said she was in a dark room. I was in the light. I just wanted to say, you can have it all. You can be in a great space, be in a room full of people, living, smiling, putting on whatever mask you need to wear in that room, and still be in a dark space in your soul. So I was living that, but had holes in my soul. It wasn't until Jody, I saw the light, and I was saved from 15. So it's not about my spirit. It's about those holes in my soul. It wasn't until I looked up and saw the light that I allowed the light to come in. I just had to throw that in there because I don't want
Okay. Well, thank you for throwing that in.
It's about being in the light too, but recognizing where you are at that moment.
There you go. Thank you. Now, Lizzie or Brian, who's next?
I'll go.
Okay.
So we talk about passion, right? Finding our passion. But what if someone's in a place where they don't even know what their passion is? And part of that reason is because they don't know who they are within. So a few years ago, I had a coach, because I'm all about coaches. You guys are all about coaches. And something that he taught me that was really, really powerful in my life is he asked me, Lizzie, what is it? Who are you? And don't tell me your titles. Don't tell me you're a mom. Don't tell me you're a wife. Don't tell me you're a coach. Who are you when you set all of that aside? Who are you? What makes you happy? And what do you want your life to look like aside from all of that? And it took me a long time to work through that because I never had anybody ask me that. And I think a lot of people, what I've noticed since going through that practice myself is many people don't even know who they are.
That's true.
And we are so eager to get to know other people. What are their likes? What are they passionate about? What kind of food do they like? Do they like sports? Do they like cats? Do they like dogs? We love getting to know other people. But what about us? What about us and what do we like? And what are we going to do to get to know ourselves better? Something that I do with my clients is I tell them, I'm like, listen, you need to stand in front of the mirror and you need to blur everything out around you and you only look into your eyes and everything's silent. And I have people that do that and they can't do it for more than 30 seconds because it's really, really scary to go inside into your soul, because that's what happens. You're looking straight into your soul and you're getting to know who you really are. And a lot of people are really, really scared to go there. So if you want to find your passion, you have to get to know who you are inside and come to the truth of who that is and how you can make that person better and what you need to do in your life to rediscover your passion. You have to go inside. And if you can't do that, then you can't expect other people to come in and love you the way that you want to be loved either.
True.
Good point. Good point. Brian?
So beautiful. So beautiful. Reality of it is if you ask most people who they are, they answer with what they do. And what's ironic is that you are born as the most authentic, natural, raw version of who you are. And then the world screws you up by telling you all of the things that you should do, should want, should be, and the way that you're going to operate. And inevitably, then you're going to have things happen to you. And when those things happen to you, they're going to create pain. And they're going to create moments that you don't like to pay attention to, you don't want to pay attention to. And oh, by the way, you may actually be unconscious to a large degree of them because they're embedded and subtle in the way that your grandpa looked at you when you loaded the dishwasher incorrectly when you were 4. The reality of it is that there's all these things that then cause us to react later and create damage because we've been so conditioned to exist in this fight or flight that we're in this constant pressure mode of like, we're going to react. And when we react, we create damage, which then creates repair, which creates more energy drain for everybody around us. And so truly, we want to move ourselves to a position where we can see ourselves clearly enough so that we can really respond instead of create more damage. And so we do that by flipping open our lid and taking a look inside. And that's how we get to know who we are and ask some of those questions. And I can tell you that I've flipped my lid and I've scanned my can to become the man and the mirror. And now I'm the man and the example that I cast, and I'm the mirror and the reflection that I show most people in the reflection from their past. And the reality of it is when we can recognize that these are the things that cause us to suffer. I believe we need to embrace pain to avoid suffering in life. And that's also where we gain freedom. And the Latin root to the word suffer is actually to carry. So it's all that weight you've been carrying from the things that you've never let go of, you've never processed, you've never wanted to look at or acknowledge. And when you recognize that that's what's actually incrementally crushing you, here's the reality. We all suffer in 4 areas. And for 4 reasons, I believe. The things that are left unsaid, the things that we lack permission to feel or say, the things we lack the words to articulate or understand, or the things that are left undone. My purpose in life is to live my truth in order to give others permission to live theirs. And so when that happens, here's what I do. I give people permission to feel and say things, and I give them words to articulate and understand experiences that they might not have experienced so that now they can act and do and move in their life through the trash from their past that they've not wanted to ever look at before. And so the reality of it is when you actually try to seek your why, you try to seek your who, and you try to connect to all of those pieces, The reality of it is not only are we trying to sift through the trash, but the reality of it is that the treasures and your gifts are formed by the pressure of the trash. Pay attention to the fact that the only way to find yourself and glimmer in all the light that you can create, because it only takes one particle of light to overtake over 1 million particles of darkness. You find those particles by digging inside and releasing what no longer serves you. And so that's the reality. We're always afraid to dig and see the truth. But if you no longer want to feel like garbage, your truth lies in your trash from your past.
Whoa. Yes. Mic
Where's
drop
the
on
mic? I need
that.
to drop a mic.
I know.
Yes.
Boom. Absolutely.
Yes.
I'm gonna share something that someone told me yesterday. I was at an event all day yesterday here in Phoenix, and someone came up to me and said, Lizzie, a lot of people look up to you, but now it's time for you to look up to yourself.
Oh.
And I was like,
you receive, Lizzie, that's when you receive.
It shook me because I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. But it really made me think about, how am I looking up to myself? What kind of value am I putting on myself? What's my worth? And how am I treating myself? Because I'm such a giver that I take care of everybody else. And now it's time for me to do that for myself as well.
Healers need healing too.
That's good.
We've got so many mic drop moments that are taking place, and we have our final finalist, or our finalist panelist that has made it with us. We want to welcome Allison, and thank you for being here, Allison Mayah Rose. I was about to use the old name, and we've got Allison Mayah Rose with us, and I am going to just play something ever so quickly to bring us up to speed, and then we're going to continue. We have a few more moments. Oh, she's gone. So we will continue right now. Who would like to, let's see, who would like to speak after? I think Dr. Marlena, you were about to speak after about the sweet spot. And because what I want to do right now is we've got roughly 20 minutes left. And I want to really start diving into how can everything, we now know you guys' stories. Allison is a thought leader, and that's one of the reasons we were bringing Allison on. She is really good at summing things up. If we can get her in, that is really her sweet spot in life. And what I would like for us to do now is concentrate, like Brian just did, gave us kind of the 4 areas and such, but what can people do today if they're feeling like, okay, yeah, you guys are talking my language, I'm feeling that vibe, I'm on your frequency right now, and yet I'm not quite where you guys are, and you guys understand how that feels. What would you share with them? What are some steps, baby steps, that they can start taking to get out of the spots that they're in right now?
Well, one of the things we talk about, and I've heard it here, was being intentional. Being intentional in finding out who you are first. And I do that with my clients through an awareness process where they become aware of things around them and how they react to those things on a daily basis. So our first week of coaching is just getting to the point where they are aware of what they say, how they say it, who they say it to, what's on their journey, or what they're passing up in their cars or they're walking. Become aware, because I think Brian just said, we don't even know who we are. You know, I was Dr. Marlena, the HR director, but really I was that mom struggling to feed my family kind of thing. And I was because I had a 6-figure job, I kept going to that job because of that secondary gain, because I was told that's how you do it. I wasn't even aware that I wasn't walking in purpose. I wasn't, forget passion. I was just still on trying to figure out the day to day. And so one of the things I believe is to be intentional is to seek out and discover through awareness who you are and how you fit in, and not from a 35,000 foot look at it, from a day-to-day journey. And I'm a big on journaling, because you have to have a benchmark to go back and look at and see where you have the movement. shameless plug, in Rediscovering Your Destiny, we do that. We talk about the first thing is getting aware. First task, how many masks are you wearing? I think we did that. We counted 50 that I actually captured. And then my group, they came up probably 10 or 11 more of these masks that we wear. So who, we're sending that representative out. Where's the real one? And so I believe getting fully aware of who you are.
Beautiful. Beautiful. We're going to welcome Allison, Mayah Rose Rogers, and I have a little something to share with everyone just to get a feel and a flavor, and then we're going to go on.
Don't have no fear, it ain't welcome here. It's not in our blood, we rise above. Strength at our core, so self-assured. It's in our blood, we rise above. Anything is possible, give everything or not at all. Our truth will not be buried, we're gonna be legendary.
Welcome. Now personal disclosure here. Allison was my coach when I first started. She is the one, yes, and Marlena's too. She is the one that got me going in the very beginning and really until I had wings enough to fly. And so she literally has my heart and gratitude every time I am doing anything. And so I want to welcome her with a special welcome. And we've been talking about, and Dr. Marlena's subject matter, discovering your destiny. And we've been kind of going through their stories, and you'll have to rewatch part of it to see this amazing story of those that are here. However, now that we're in how do you go forward when you're rediscovering your destiny, what words of wisdom would you like to share with us? And where are you right now? We've been asking that question too. Where in the world?
Where in the world am I? I'm here in Utah today, and so glad to be joining you. I'm just recovering. I lost my voice earlier this week, so still kind of a sexy, sultry, scratchy voice. I like
Love it.
Yeah. Octaves lower than I normally am. But no, I'm really excited to be here. It's really interesting. This is such an interesting topic. And I recently, last week, we had a mastermind with a group of thought leaders in Phoenix where Gerald and I were. And we were talking about this very topic. And a gentleman we were there with, his name's Tiamo, he really hit it on the head when he says our purpose is ever evolving, right? And as we continue to step, I believe it's like stepping further and further into our destiny, right? As we evolve, our purpose evolves. As we evolve, the things that we do evolve greater towards that. And I think the temptation is to stay stuck in what has been successful, because at one point, that was the evolution. At one point, that was the next level. But then when you're there, as you continue to evolve, there's always a level up, further up. So for example, for me, I started out in personal training. That's how I became an entrepreneur. And it was all about the physical body, right? And then I realized it was more to it than that it wasn't really the physical body that was holding people back or preventing them from reaching their goals. It was this emotional thing. So then I evolved and I got more into the foot zoning and the emotional. And then I realized it was energetic and spiritual. And then, I added the Reiki certification on. And then, of course, as I evolved and became a speaker and got the TV shows and radio shows and things, I would talk about this. But it's like we're ever evolving and ever growing. And I think if I were to give one action step that you would take, it would be just to move forward, to let go of the fear and to surrender and to trust. And And the thing I'll leave you with is, just to sum this up, is this. There's this question, and it is, what do you want? So when people are talking about their destiny, their purpose, they're always asking, well, what do I want? What do I want to create? What do I want to pursue? What do I want to? But Oprah actually said there's a better question than that. I know Dr. Marlena heard this recently too. I think it was at an event we were at, this same quote came up, but Oprah said, it's not what you want. You should be asking, what does Source want to create through me? Yeah. And as you do that, then you'll evolve into that next level and purpose. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm going to go out of an order that we just kind of unofficially had, because you were doing the whole this thing. What would you like to piggyback off of?
There's just so much wisdom flowing through this room, and it's incredible, because if people are paying attention, they're going to pick it up. I've heard surrender multiple times from people, and I have trust, surrender, breathe tattooed on my left arm. And it's the only ink that'll ever be on that arm. But it's, we have a saying in our world, it's just TSB, right? Trust in the moment, right? Trust that everything's gonna be okay, that I'm safe, that I can drop my armor, that I don't need to overprotect myself, which actually further disconnects myself and crushes me, right? Surrender to the moment. Know that if I am here and present right now, then whatever's meant to be is going to be. And when you can trust that instead of fight that, it's amazing the flow that you can get yourself into. And then breathe, right? I just kind of view life at this moment as one moment, one breath at a time. And if I can really recognize that the only thing that's real is right now, what's right in front of me, then I can choose to be where my feet are and be in this moment and be present. And that's where all the magic happens. And I love what was just said too, because there is no final destination. It's only constant evolution of self. So the day I wake up and I realize that I've had everything get figured out, well, I'm hoping that's going to be my last day on this planet, because what else is there to live for? But, the reality of it is you ask for something actionable. We talk about awareness, right? And I think it's really important to acknowledge that our minds process 11 million bits of information per second, but we're only consciously aware of about 40, right? And so it's no wonder that people feel like they're victims and like they have no influence or control over their destinies, because it's so far out of whack. And so we have to go through that systematic process of moving the unconscious to the conscious, the unaware to the aware. And when we can really put ourselves into a place where we can raise awareness, the next step we have to pay attention to is that most people just become more aware of all the ways they should be judging themselves. Awareness without action, understanding, and lessons to extract mean nothing, because truly that's what awareness is intended to do, is to extract the lessons we can from our lives so we can be intentional in how do we apply them moving forward so that we don't repeat the same patterns. And so when we're in that type of a position, here's something I just want everybody to do. It's a very simple thing. All of us throw something away every single day. And if we don't grab that bag and take it out to the can, right, then what happens? The trash piles over. It starts blocking our kitchen, starts going down the hallway, blocking our relationships, getting into our home offices, literally permeating into everything. But what do we do at home? We push it down until the bag can't hold anymore, and then we take it out to the street. But every time you throw something away, I just want you to flip open the lid and scan your can to see what's risen to the top in your life, objectively and non-judgmentally. And if you make that a daily practice, then you're going to start to become aware of all those little things that make you feel like garbage. Because there's two things I want you to ask yourself after that. One, who was the last person that made you feel like garbage? If you ever have anything on the negative spectrum of emotions, you're still carrying trash from your past that's either unprocessed or unpacked or unconscious. And so if we recognize that that's the reality, and I don't want to feel like this, then the only way to move through that is then to take your step a step further. It's not what do I think about it, what narratives just get created, because that's only half the equation. We have to know the intellectual and emotional narratives that are shaping our truth in this moment. So you pause and ask yourself one more thing. When you felt that moment, that last person who made you feel like garbage, what did it feel like in your body? Now, don't label the emotion. Don't say shame, fear, guilt, scarcity. No. Like physiologically what happened in your body. Get aware of the patterns that exist in those moments that you don't feel like you want to understand those moments, that how they move in your body, how they move through your world, so that you can learn how to move through it. And when you do that, you'll start to realize that everything is about the next moment and the next breath. And it really simplifies life.
Beautifully said. Another mic drop. Boom. Okay, Lizzie, I see that you're like, Do you want to continue the discussion here?
Absolutely. I'm going to take this on a little bit different perspective as well. I work in the health industry, health coach, and I want to talk a little bit about taking care of your physical body as well. Because if we don't take care of our physical body, which is our temple that God gave us, and we are supposed to be taking care of it, if we don't take care of that, our mental health can't thrive either. So when you think of your health, it's always a whole body experience, mind, body, soul. And we have to take care of all of them. They all coincide, they all go together. So when we're working on our spiritual health and our mental health, we have to include our physical health as well, because if we are not taking care of our physical health, it's going to affect our mental health.
Mhm.
So the actionable steps that I want to give for that is really start paying attention to what are you putting into your body every single day? Are you sleeping? The foundation of our health is our water, our sleep, and our food and our movement. Those 4 things are always going to be your foundation. And so if you can just commit to going out there, and if you're not doing any kind of movement each day, if you can commit to 30 minutes of walking every single day, man, you are doing some massive things for your health. Like that's step 1. Step 2 is making sure that you're drinking water every single day and you're hydrating your body. And then step 3 is paying attention to what you are putting into your body as far as your food goes. Are you eating fruits and vegetables? Are you eating protein? Are you putting the good things into your body? Because most people are tired. Most people are tired and exhausted and they're not sleeping well. And all of those things affect our energy and our sleep. So if you can start taking care of your physical health, your mental and emotional health will follow along with that. But you got to start with the baby steps. If you're not doing anything, walking, water, sleep, and food. Those are the things that you want to start out with.
Love it. I want to give Jody an opportunity, and just to let everybody know, we've got about 3 minutes until we need to be closing down. And so, Jody, I want to just give you an opportunity to give some actionable steps and going forward too.
Yeah, absolutely. 3 things that I just say all the time is love God, love others, love yourself. Is all around love, and just like Dr. Marlena was saying, she was in a light place, but she was wearing the mask. I love the diversity of all of us because it allows people to know that you're not alone. So I agree with all the steps that have been said and how amazing that they are, but that's the 3 steps that I would say. And, like they were talking about the mirror exercise, that's something really difficult to do, but it's very powerful at the same time because you got to love yourself. God made you special and God made you the way you are and you're perfect in his image. And so I think that's so important that a lot of people don't love who they are. They don't think they're good enough or special enough. And if you follow these steps, like if you are overweight and that is something that is a heaviness on you, then you follow the steps of like Lizzie was saying, and you get healthy stuff in your body. If it's spiritual likeness, then you educate yourself on that. So love yourself enough to know what steps you need to take to find out what your destiny is.
I love it. And that actually leads me into a very brief little preview of what is coming soon having to do with love. I'm going to share it now.
Coming this spring, by popular demand, the 2nd season show on the Tour of Love.
And the E360 TV platform is saying we want the Tour of Love.
With winner of the first Global Impactor Award, Tamara Hunter, along with Emmy-winning co-host Skip Thomas.
We are going on tour, on the road. It's time. Love unites, and there is healing through connections. This is a worldwide movement, the Tour of Love.
Yeah, I had to do it, So we have only a few more minutes. Actually, we have 2 minutes left. Who would like to say anything, or can we go around and say goodbye? And just one last moment. I'm going to start with you, Allison, and continue around the horn.
Thank you so much. I think what's flowing through me right now, first of all, is my gratitude and love for you, Tamara. It's been so fun to be a part of your journey and to see all that you're doing and how you're impacting the world, and just really, really beautiful. And the final message that I would leave with everybody is, what would your life look like if in each moment today you just asked, what would this situation look like if I was in unconditional love for myself?
Beautiful. Next, Lizzie, you have
Absolutely.
10 seconds.
First of all, thank you so much for having me. The biggest thing that I want people to understand here is you can hear all these things, but if you don't put it into action, doesn't mean anything. So you have to put execution into it.
Brian.
Flip your lid and scan your can, and you can become whoever you want.
I love it. I love it. Dr. Marlena.
The sweet spot where purpose and passion meet.
Excellent.
Thank you
Jody.
also.
No matter what you've walked through, just love yourself. And it's an honor to be here with all these amazing panelists.
And I want to say thank you all for being here with us. We are sharing the love with you. You can rediscover your destiny and watch this show many times. You'll keep discovering how. Bye, everyone.
Bye.